first thing I want you guys to know, I appreciate you guys doing this so very much to discuss
Yeah.
things and potentially have people get mad and stuff like that. But I thought it was worth it just to have a conversation and maybe help people understand different points of view. I think it's important for nowadays. So yeah, I want to get right into it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself
Oh, well, y'all know me.
for your
Oh, this is
audience?
for your, yeah, for, okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, audio is my passion. It always has been. I was a bass player. That's why I stick with audio. And music has always been my life. And I've been doing this for about 30, 35, 40 years now. I've been on the entertainment side as far as booking and all that way back in the day.
Very good. Now, what about ethnicity? Like, what's your lineage? Just so that everyone can get like a feel of where you're from.
Well, we have mysteries. I know that my grandfather was white, but I've never met him, never seen him, don't even know who he is.
Yeah.
And that was something that we never, were able to uh, get the answers to that. So
Okay.
at least to this date, um, I'm always in expectation, always in hope that I would one day know who he is. But as of today, no.
Okay. Okay.
So
Very
yeah,
cool.
so we do. I'm kind of like a half breed. My dad, of course, was half black and half white, and so and I have a daughter that's half black and half white.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't like saying that. They're just black people, but
Hey, no, hey, no. I like the point. I like what Rare said, what he posted yesterday. So Rare, when you get
hmm
a chance, I'm gonna have you jump in too. Well, why don't you jump in now, Rare? Go ahead and you tell us a little bit about you, your ethnicity and everything.
Sure, yeah, yeah. So I was raised. My father was black. My mother was. She has a lot of German and Irish in her background. So, but other than that, Caucasian looking lady, real pasty looking, and you know, so uh, I would say she was kind of like a flower child back in the day, and my dad was a jazz musician.
Mhm.
So the combination of those two kind of came together, and here, this is me right here. So came out Rare. He named me Rare. A lot of people ask me that, want to know, where'd you get that name or who you named after. He just came out. I'm the only Rare that I know of.
Right. Because
That
you're
I
rare.
always tell people, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. I say if you meet another one, let me know. I want to meet him too. So uh, other than that, like that's how I grew up. So we had a lot of different. My dad was very much black man. We grew up in the South in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee. Um, Back when it was not cool to be a black man and a white lady together. And so that's, I guess we'll be discussing that as we go down these questions. But that's a little
Yeah.
background about me and, my ethnicity.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. Paul, why don't you tell us if you feel comfortable with it, what your political affiliation is and why?
I came off the machine about 8 years ago.
Mhm.
The Democratic machine. Once I started realizing things as I got the teachings that we get history and spiritually, and just through business, I was learning that it's the conservative Republican was more my identity, and I've been that way ever since.
Okay.
And I don't like what's going on now. Uh, Maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit too much,
No, that's
but
fine.
it's just a respect that I think we've lost uh, in this nation. I don't care if you don't like your president, you can't. You still have to respect presidency. I don't care who it is. I did that with every president that I know because it was just my moral duty to respect the office. I may not like the character,
Right.
I may not like, but I still have to respect the office. So therefore, I keep my mouth off of it.
Okay.
And this world doesn't seem to understand that because we all know that we approach things from a deeply rooted spiritual aspect. That what you put your mouth on is not going to be too cool for the rebuttal. And I think that's what's going on.
Okay.
There's a lot of reasons um, because I just saw the same old promises not being fulfilled, and things that are battling our culture
Okay.
placed in our neighborhoods through democratic machines.
Okay.
I hope you understand where I'm coming from.
That are being put in our neighborhoods by the democratic machine. Okay.
Yeah,
That's good. Pause on that if you don't mind. And Rare,
I'm cool.
yeah, okay. Rare,
Yeah,
can you share a little bit with us about your political affiliation if you'd like to?
sure. Yeah, yeah. I grew up Democrat. Um, just that's who my mom and dad related to, being blue collar. I mean, not I mean being actual workers, and that's the party they related with. So that's how I grew up. As I got on my own 2 feet and started voting, I
Yeah.
look for more about issues that I have a passion about, and I
Mm-hmm.
vote for those people that are
Right.
passionate about the same.
Yeah.
And it could be Democrat, it could be Republican.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as long as the candidate has their head on straight and they're passionate about what they're going after, and they really are doing the people a service, then they have my vote all day.
Okay. That's
Um,
good. Okay.
you know, other than that, I try to stay away from party lines. I guess maybe just because I kind of identify that with my race. I don't try to go down. I treat the same way. I don't just do everything one way because that's I feel like that's the right way to go. Where I have to choose. No, I take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that's
Mhm.
what makes me. And I
Yeah.
have different ideas and different passions. And the same thing with different party members. I mean, there's some good. If you're good they have good politicians on both sides,
Mm-hmm.
and there's
Mm-hmm.
also bad ones on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
Straight garbage. They've just been in there for, they're in the buddy system and they're in there and they're just yes men. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't agree with them at all.
Yeah.
So that's how I try to vote. I try to remain open and stick with somebody that's going to really do us some justice or do the country some service.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and Hall, I'm going to come back to you and I'm going to
Okay.
ask you, I have not met one person yet who is on one side all the way, meaning one person who says, I'm Democrat and I think everything Democrats are doing is right, or I'm Republican and I think everything Republicans are doing is right. And that's really encouraging to me because I feel like what the media tries to portray on either side is not necessarily always the case. When you start digging a little bit deeper, you find that people have more nuances in
Mhm.
general, and we kind of
Mhm.
all are fed up with this polarity that's happening. And we kind of all maybe have different methods in how we want to bring change. But,
Mhm.
I think that we can agree on that. So, Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you just mentioned about the neighborhoods and Democrats?
Well, it's the nuance of what you're talking about. Unfortunately, through the years, it's like, how can I explain this? It's like a frog jumping in a pail of water, but that water has a burner under it, and it's slowly heating up, and it's slowly. So this bad boy's sitting there slowly cooking, yet he don't even know it because he's so accustomed until the fact that it's too late. I think the American people have been programmed like that, um, to be party this versus that. It's always division this versus that. It even kind of stems a lot from the biblical days, which I base everything off the word basically. And I use the term basically because that's the Bible's the basic instructions for daily living.
Right.
uh, so the things that I've seen in the black neighborhoods, the things that I've seen in white neighborhoods, since I've lived in all of them. Um, I've never lived in, of course, Oriental and things like that, but we're dealing with the major black-white issue thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always, you could tell when there's conservatives because everything's nice and pretty, the yards are beautiful. And then when you get to the, you know, the Democratic side, yes, the yards are beautiful, but there's something about it that just not, you know, what we were have been taught to make a standard, but it's still
Okay.
beautiful. You
Okay.
know, I find that a lot of Democratic programs aren't right for people. I'm not going to go into any details, but it seems like it's more control, 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 control. I think better for you. I think I know what's best for you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
Okay.
when I started hearing that in certain representatives that I watch on YouTube and TV like everybody else, uh, telling me that you're going to pass something before you read it. You got to pass it before you know what's in it. That that was a that was that was the turning key right there. And everybody who knows history know who said that.
Okay.
That slapped me right upside my face. Do you actually think I'm that stupid that you're going to pass over a basic contract? You got to read it before you sign it.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are passing bills.
Hello.
You know, so
Yes, sir.
you know, so I saw that more on that side of the fence.
Okay. Okay.
Waste just so much, and um, when I got turned on to conservative and like making money and paying taxes. There's doors open. There's dreams that there's nothing stopping me. I don't need anybody to tell me how. I just need for the opportunity to be there, and we'll figure it out. You
Okay.
know,
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
I hope I kind of clear on that.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that you said that in a lot of neighborhoods that you've noticed that are more on the Republican side, you see landscaping, you see things are being taken care of to a certain standard
Mm-hmm.
versus on the Democratic side. And that's interesting to me. I've never heard it that way before. And Rare, is there
Yep.
anything you want to say about things that you've noticed that you kind of wanted to point out?
Most of the time, that ends up being, I look to a Democrat
Mm-hmm.
to see if there's any good politicians that I can vote for.
Okay.
If not, that's fine. I'll take whoever's good.
Okay.
So I look there first because throughout the history, I can look at, and this is me, this may be, maybe I'm just ignorant as politics, according to politics. And I don't really try to get into politics much.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my arena.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm a voter, and the votes are powerful, and you have to do your homework.
Yeah.
So I try to do homework as I'm growing and getting older. I have good conversations actually with Hall. I had a lot of good conversations with him, and he'll throw something out and it'll open my eyes. I'll go research that and check it out. Come back to him a couple weeks later, but hey man, I checked it out. You were right. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
We've had conversations like that.
Mm-hmm.
I researched the subjects and the topics I'm passionate about
Mm-hmm.
for sure, and see who's hot on this.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
do I need to get in there to make some change in this area?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's pretty much where I stand still. If there's a Republican that stands like that, and I don't have a problem voting for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think my only problem is, honestly, from the presidents, and I can only speak for presidents, because, and you know what, I hate to say this, I'm probably part of that group that uh, puts the focus more on the president. But I'm learning now that that's not the main election. The main
Mm-hmm.
election are in our states,
Right.
our
Hmm.
senators, our governors, our mayors.
Right.
Those are the ones that, my eyes are being open to, that, hey, these are the ones that make the policies that directly affect me.
Correct. Yeah.
Directly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The ones, the president now, the president, I even though I still see him as the thermostat. He sets the temperature and the
Good.
climate for the United
Hmm.
States.
That's good. Yeah.
He still sets a tone. I mean, as a leader, and if you're going to respect the president as a leader, the leader always sets the tone,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything
Hmm.
else trickles down from the leader.
Right.
And so that's what we're seeing now today. When you see this climate of, I know I'm jumping ahead maybe, but oh well,
That's
you see
fine.
black people getting shot more, which is ridiculous. The police are not being held responsible. I don't see why. Uh, and there's a lot of much more racial tension than when other presidents were in office. So,
Mm-hmm.
I, sure, you can respect the office, but currently, honestly, I do not respect the guy that's in the office right now.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a
do
lot of
not
people
at
don't.
all,
Hmm.
and I don't
Yeah.
have a problem saying that.
Right.
And I don't care
Right.
if people get mad. There's some people that follow this guy blindly and don't even know what's going on behind. I mean, come on,
Hmm.
man. This guy is literally affiliated with other countries that we are not aligned with.
Mm-hmm.
He's affiliated with them.
Yeah.
And you want to sit up there and follow a guy that claiming America, but is literally affiliated with these other countries. And there's very much proof out there to show that. I just can't get with it. And
Yeah.
the reason I can't get with that is because I don't feel like you have America's um I don't feel like you have America's best interest in mind. And you certainly aren't doing anything to show that.
Mm-hmm.
What they say, the proof is in the pudding. You haven't done
Hmm.
anything to show that you're backing America, or that you're
Mm-hmm.
promoting America in the international markets. Right now, we have less allies than we've ever had, and our and uh, the ally that he's aligned with is actually going in these regions as the U.S. is being pulled back, or the people are severing the ties with the U.S. And they're forming ties with our enemies, or quote unquote enemies. So
Mm-hmm.
if this guy is leading that, he's leading that. So I don't agree with that at all.
I feel you. Uh, it's not up for debate, because everybody feels differently. Um, I just know that, over the last year, you know, all of us, we were making some money. Over the last two, yeah. I mean, it started, 2 years ago, but it started really being consistent over the last, so I'm not gonna say who did what, or try to guess. I just know that we were living, and things were doing good because I didn't, but now that we've had these attacks after attack after attack after attack, and all the evidence of all these other things coming out, calling it a pandemic and all this stuff, looking at the real statistics of how many people have died over the years of flu versus what's going on with this patented man-made thing that they call COVID. Um, it just seems like so much hatred towards you know people versus people, and there was so much hatred towards this man that it just seemed like the opposition would do anything to stop it. even crash the economy. And you can tell by some of the mindsets that it's all on YouTube. I'm not trying to say anything that everybody doesn't have access to on YouTube, and I don't want to call any political names out, but they're mostly on the Democratic side. Some of the things that they've said and the examples that they've said, you know, which I find that were not true. And I'm saying like because like we are we're we're living something that you said we weren't, and um, I'm trying to be so discreet without spilling the beans, but
No,
you know,
just go. Listen, go for it. I
yeah.
will kind of switch to race after this, but I do want you to make your point. Say what
Yeah.
you mean. Go for it.
So
I know you.
I
You
think
don't mince words.
yeah, I think there's a lot of deception, and I always have to. I say this the third time. I have to take it spiritual because we've learned from a very intelligent spiritual father that people call his spiritual father. He's my my pastor. Um, you got to look at the spiritual of this thing. Racism has been like I think I posted this on Facebook, and it was inspired by a sermon he preached the other night. Um, that racism is a hatred that is demonic.
Hmm.
It's all demonic, and that's
Yeah.
racism, and it's been defeated at the cross. But yet we in our flesh continue to feed it, and that's why we're still just like our brothers, our fellow Israel brothers. Moses and the boy had to go around the mountain 40 times, 40 years. It took a 17-day journey. This is history repeating itself over and over and over and over and over until we wake up and understand that there's a lot of deception going on. Everything we see on TV has been somebody's agenda being forced down our throats that we know that don't agree with the Most High. So, you know, there it is. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not much to say after that. We have to, keep on pushing forward with our due diligence and like Rare says, vote your conscience, vote your power, vote your checkbook, you know, and you know, stay spiritually focused on the real deal of what's really going. Because there's a shift going on that we're probably a lot of people may not understand, but there's a shift going on, and what we're going through is for a reason. And this was to for my life. It really kicked me back and started me looking internal.
Okay.
You know, yeah,
Yeah.
just get back to my internal self, and uh, I really enjoyed it because I was just spending more time with the Father, spending more time with the Father, and with the passion of the teachings that we continue to get, just kept re reassuring me, and then next thing you know, it turned into then I'm being reassured by the Father, reassured by the Father. So uh, it's so much fun. It might not be the right word, but it's what's in my heart to
Hmm.
watch what's going on in this world and to know that it's an ordained prophecy that we're living and we're seeing in front of our eyes. And it's for us to wake up, get the deception out of our hearts and out of our minds, and live like the Word told us to live. And this sinful nature is a mother. I tell you, man, but it has been defeated, and we still acting like it hasn't been. That so.
Okay. That I thank you. I appreciate that. And
I hope
what
I
you
didn't go
just
too deep
shared.
for you.
No, no. Actually, I was thinking that what you just shared, I believe probably a good percentage of a certain group of people feel the exact same way you do. Um, I do believe in terms of spiritually, a lot of what we're seeing, yeah, we know where it comes from. We absolutely know where it comes from. And I'm gonna kind of segue into this next topic. It's pretty much the same, but I'm kind of bringing them together.
Hmm.
Is you and I know, and Rare knows, that a lot of what's going on is spiritual. We have a lot of people who are, I don't want to go too deep for my audience, our audience, who may not
Mhm.
necessarily understand the spiritual aspect of what's going on, but people who are basically possessed, um who kind of like what I said in my post, who are happy to see a cop shot in his face, who are happy to see a black man killed in the middle of the street. At what point do we say, okay, we know what's going on spiritually now, at the same time, because we can take authority on this earth, how do we vote in a certain way to prevent certain things from continuing to happen? I have observed in the past few years, actually ever since President Obama, that there has been a rise in obvious racism. Because we know it's always been there, we know it's always been present, it's always been underlying, but now it's more blatant. And I do agree with Rare in the sense that when you have a leader who, like my mom always says in French, qui ne dit mot consent, meaning if you don't say anything to speak against something else, then you agree with it. You're kind of like by default agreeing with it. So if
Mm.
you have a president, no matter who it is, whether it's Trump, Obama, whoever, see something happening, don't say anything to condemn it, it kind of gives a certain group of people the empowerment to act out. And I feel like that's what we've seen. Now, I'm not talking socioeconomics, because I know me and my husband, we might take a hit if we were to vote Democrat. You know, personally, yeah, like you said, this has been probably some of the best times we've experienced economically, but emotionally, and to see what's happening to our brothers and sisters out there, and I say brothers and sisters like of all races, particularly black, can we take another 4 years? And at what point do we say, yes, I've prospered economically, but I think I need to vote maybe in this sense? And I'm not trying to lead you in a certain way,
Mm.
but I'm just asking a genuine question. What do you think about that, Paul?
Wow. Um, I think the smoothest way to say this is to understand that this has been going on all along. Everybody has a camera now.
Right. Right.
So it's more prevalent. I think that's the word, prevalent now.
Mm-hmm.
Prevalent
Mm-hmm.
now. It's more readily available at the snap of a finger. Uh, there's nothing you can't do that's not being televised. And I think who was Gil Scott Heron said the revolution would not be televised. Well, it is being televised. I love my brother, and for that time he was right. But this time it's being televised
Sure.
because it's really accessible. Uh, having to deal with another 4 years of this, uh, I don't think we're going to have to. I think once this summer, the next few months, we see how things go, and if people, I'm gonna put this blatantly. If the media stops lying and give us facts, that we can't depend on that. So you have to go find out your facts for yourself.
Okay.
But I just had to say that. And if we can get through these summer months, I do believe we'll be back up and running by September, October. Um, with this hatred towards the president, with this election and all the preliminary things that have already been addressed to say that's going to happen, all these predictions, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. We really don't know. This is what they're trying to set you up to make happen, so your mind will go that way. I see that it's still a lot of programming going on. This the thing about you know mailing your vote in. You have to understand that is the worst thing you do. It's not that bad out there that we can't go to our polling places with all the masks and everything and vote. That's all these things are setups for failure. It's going against the grain of what we're accustomed to as a people and as a republic, which we're supposed to be, and so on and so on. So uh, I'm actually optimistic of not based on the presidency because uh, the alternative to who we have now that's being pushed, I'm sorry, ain't no way. I just can't see it. I give the brother all. I don't see it. I can't see it. I've watched him in his actions. I've watched his character, just like I've watched the character that's in there. I mean, we have a very difficult choice, and
Hmm.
I have to again inject the spiritual aspect of it. You're gonna have to really listen to your heart, to your mind,
Right, right,
come
right.
November. But the adversity, and I want to define adversity, the gain, the hatred from the North, South, Democrat, Republican, all these main things, you know, the opposition is going to be really, really ruthless because of the hatred.
Okay.
And so
We're,
we're going to have to, I believe we're just going to have to really watch ourselves, do what we're supposed to do, and push our agenda as individuals to push that vote and vote for your best. Like Rare said,
conscious.
he's 100%. I was total agreement with him. I've just kind of broadened it out a little bit from a kind of like um, a very interesting mind's point of view.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got a tough decision coming November, and I do believe the adversity is trying to make it even tougher because of the hatred it's going to continue to spew. This man, anything this man does, I say this man, our current president, anything he
Right,
does is
right,
going to be misconstrued regardless.
right,
Anything that they do, you don't hear about. So that's a norm now, and
right,
it's not
right.
my norm because I dig. You know, I dig outside of the 66. I dig outside. Knowledge is power, and so I seek it in everything. And now that I'm to answer your question and to stay on point here, it's like, whoa, you got a tough decision.
Very much
And
so.
so the
Yeah.
rate, all the racial division, like Rare, tell me to shut up if you ready to chime in.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna get
who
him.
who
Jump in anytime, Rare.
who in their right mind sets out bricks in strategic places, palletfuls, unless it's planned?
Okay, wait. Pause right there.
So
Woo,
No, pause right there.
who is capitalizing off all this that's going on?
Let me ask you
There's a
this.
puppet master somewhere.
Wait, let me ask you this because this is hilarious. My really good friend Mike Sidner yesterday brought out the same point you just made. He talked
Yeah.
about bricks. I had no idea that there were bricks being placed in areas where people were rioting. So where is that information coming from?
Oh, it's on YouTube. You got that's
Okay.
like I said, you got brothers out there with their phones on say, hey, dang, where these bricks came from? A whole pallet full lined up somewhere. Like I mean the young man recorded it. There's another uh YouTube that this white man was just going around breaking windows.
Wow. Okay.
Just inciting. These are all paid people. These people are paid characters.
Okay.
This stuff is real. There's some serious puppet master stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Rare.
and Rare, yeah, jump in, man, cause
yeah.
y'all get me going here.
All right. I know you can go. I know you can go, Hall. So I just was trying to let you go and go, man. But um, I agree. There are some. There's a lot of agendas going. That are so the people that have their agendas that are trying to slide their agendas in. Um, they're doing it. They're looking for opportunities that are happening, distractions, things like that, and they can just kind of subversively slide those things in.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nasty. It's not cool. It has nothing to do with humanity. Nothing to do. It's just pure. It's not good. right? All right.
Right.
So we all know that. I did see a couple of pictures of some pallets of bricks online. I think here's the thing. Like you said, the revolution wasn't televised back then. We have cameras everywhere now, and thank goodness, because a lot of the things that people have been complaining about for years are now being displayed. Oh, like
Mhm.
here's Exhibit A, here's Exhibit B, and down the line. Finally, people are seeing what people have been complaining about for so long.
Hmm.
Um, with that, though, here's the downside to that. That's the good side. The downside is because we have so much more information, entities taking advantage of that as well and putting a spin on it. Most of the stuff that's being published, it can't be published and just be what it is. There's going
Mhm.
to be a spin on it. And again, like Hall said, if you don't do your homework, you're not going to know if that spin is true or false. We
Right.
really need, I feel like we really need a media Mythbusters team to go out there and say, hey, we check this out, it's false. We check this out, it's true.
Wait,
Because,
I'm about to do that right now.
yeah, there you go.
Okay, wait, no, and I don't know if this is necessarily true, but
Go
I
ahead.
Googled it because I was curious, and apparently in most of the places where these bricks were placed, one place reported that the bricks have been there for construction, that they were there. I don't know if this
There
is
you go.
true, but this was in Dallas, Texas, and they said that the bricks were placed at least in since February.
Okay.
Um, and then in Virginia, a user posted photos of a pile of bricks, and they were saying, stay woke and all that, that they're putting bricks near you to destroy property. But then the Norfolk City spokeswoman, Lori Crouch, told us in an email that the brick pavers were seen in the photo, and they were placed there. They were working on a gas line, apparently. So I don't know what exactly is going on. Maybe the timing of it is conspicuous. I don't know. It's interesting, but I guess this is why I wanted to do this. And I find more cases than none, you usually find stories that are skewed one way or another. I like how my friend Mike said it yesterday. He said it's interesting. It's kind of like a camera angle. If you place the camera a certain way, you're going to get one side of the story. But if you place the camera angle another way, you get a completely different side. Even with the pandemic, my brother's a nurse and he sees what's happening on the front lines every day. He told me, be careful. He actually took an image of lungs that were destroyed in the progress of this disease. And so for me, I take it seriously, and
Mhm.
and so I really, like, I don't want to dismiss it and say, it's a conspiracy theory. And I don't want to go too far to the left and say we have to run and hide. Is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, I think, like I said, that's so even, no matter what we see, um, whether we want, and see, here's the bad thing about the spin, right? If I want to believe something, anything, let's say, all birds are blue. They just all turn blue now. Here's a couple of pictures of birds. If I really wanted to believe that, I would say, "Yep, see, there you go. That's it. I got the picture right here. They're all
Right.
blue. They're all blue. I
Mhm.
Yeah.
told you."
Yeah.
If people, people are looking for this stuff and they feed off it. And then you post a couple of pictures. No, here's some red birds, man. I just took this morning. There's red birds in my yard. They're not all blue.
Hmm.
No, no, I don't know. That must be from years ago before they all turned blue. You know,
Yeah.
so
Right.
people are gonna believe what they want to believe. You know,
Yeah.
it,
It's the
if
Bloods or
you,
the Crips.
yeah, you're gonna believe
You're
what you
right.
want to believe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no gang affiliation. Just talking about some birds. Random colors, yellow, blue, yellow and green, whatever you want to choose. But you know, people are gonna believe what they want to believe. And I just hate to say it, like, the more I talk to people or see it's go down my timeline, it's so much ignorance. It's
Right.
just so much ignorance. It's like, man,
Right.
uh, I think it's really sad if you live life to 45, like or older. Hey, I'm 45. All right, see the grays, but you live a good life, and you live this long, and you haven't observed the world enough to pick up some things. You know, just some basic human cares. We're all Christians here. I mean, we're all raised in the same background. You know, if you're in that background and you don't have compassion for a brother or sister or neighbor or just simple compassions, you're so insulated in your world that you can't have empathy, or you cannot look at something and say if it's right or wrong anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. That means to me, and I go with the word too, Hall. I stick with the word. I look back at my thing and say, oh, okay.
Mhm.
So there's scripture that says if you have all these things, you don't have love, you're nothing.
Mhm.
So simple compassion is a product of love. If you have
Right.
love, you can have compassion for. I don't care if you're in India. If this has happened in India, I'll be pissed, be ready to send some money over there to somebody so they can protest, back them guys so they can get free. Wherever it is. And that's why the world is standing up. Because,
Mhm.
I traveled abroad. I got a chance to go different places. Canada, hey, Paris in the background here. I've been in a couple different places, And what I learned there is when you go over there, people are not caught up in black and white. They're
Mhm.
French. They don't care. French comes in all different
Mhm.
colors. So as
Mhm.
long as you're French, you're good. What they have a problem with is Americans coming over there and they give you a big attitude because you're American.
Right.
And it don't matter what color you are. If you're American, you're American. They can tell by your accent. And so it's just less emphasis on a color or a
Mm-hmm.
shade of skin. There's less emphasis on those things. The way I was raised in the South, seeing racism from day one. I mean,
Mhm.
earliest I can remember, I saw racism. And
Mhm.
so, having grown up with that, seeing that I couldn't uh, fully trust all black people because they were black, or all white people because they're white, it made me have to dig into who is this person, what is their character.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And when you have to dig into that and find out the real person, hey, what is this person about? Then all it boils down to is this person's cool or he ain't cool, and I'm not hanging with him.
Right.
It's
Right.
really that simple. Hey, this
Right.
guy
Mhm.
got some stuff going on, all right, and it doesn't matter what nationality he is. This guy's cool though. Rock with him all day. And so at the end of the day, I feel like when I went abroad to different countries, I felt that feeling more, that they were more about, okay, um, what they try to get to know you and see, well, are you cool or not cool,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of your skin color.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I see. I went to Canada. I saw a lot of Haitians there, and they weren't getting discriminated against. The cops weren't pulling them over.
Mhm.
You know, they weren't just coming up and harassing them. I actually we were actually talking, having some talks with them. I was visiting from Atlanta, and we were talking with them. Police officer came up and told us to turn our music down and y'all have a nice day. That's it. That was it. Because they're
Right.
real, friendly. They don't want to, offend a lot of people. Yeah, moving along. I think the only problem I see is when I come back here to a U.S. that is 75% white. Uh, and I just have to say, I only see this issue with white Americans, not white Germans or white French people or black Africans or whatever. White Americans, and they just feel, they have such a there's such a freedom, there's such a protection set up for them, and they feel that insulation and they don't want to get rid of it. You know, I know I said a lot, I know I said a mouthful.
Oh, you on time, brother.
So I'll tell you briefly, like I'm American. I was born in Brooklyn, and my parents are from Haiti, and I lived in Canada. That's like hands down my favorite place to live ever.
Nice.
After
Yeah.
Miami and Canada are very close.
Yeah.
I lived in Haiti for a little bit. I didn't like it. Sorry, my Haitian brothers and sisters. I did not like it at all. Maybe just a little bit, but my favorite place was Canada and Miami.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, when I moved here to Georgia, it was an eye-opening experience because Rare nailed it. I had never before experienced such a divide. And I think Rare, what you nailed it, because I wonder if the heart of all of this is that it's a battle between white Americans and African Americans. And I'm not dismissing Caribbeans. I'm not dismissing everybody else, but I have a friend of mine, Toya. You guys know Toya, right?
Yeah.
Toya opened my eyes the other day because we were having a conversation about this, and she told me, and I'm gonna have her on here too. She said that with Caribbeans, our experience, and even Hispanics and everything, our experience is different because we came here willingly. We came to the United States willingly. My parents are they do pretty well for themselves. My grandparents and great grandparents were never slaves. So my experience has been very different. But for African Americans, she was saying that they don't have an identity. They don't have something that they can hold on to, like we eat this type of food and this and that, you know? And so for me, Haiti, like, yeah, even though I didn't like it, but I know the foods that we eat and all that stuff, but everything for African Americans was trickled down by slavery. And so it grieved my heart, and I started understanding so much more that I feel like it brings me to this topic. Black Lives Matter. Now, in the past, I would have been like, oh no, you know, all lives matter, all lives matter. And even though I'm not saying that all lives don't matter, I finally understand when people say Black Lives Matter and we don't need to give an explanation. What do you guys think about that in light of what we just discussed? Paul, you go first. I know you got a lot to say.
Go ahead, bro. I yield the hall.
You have the floor.
You said something valuable, that a lot of African Americans don't have an identity. I'm gonna stir some crap up right now.
Uh-oh.
Our identity is in Elohim, and it always has been from the beginning. We're the kings and the priests. I'm not going to go beyond that. All you have to do is read, and you will be convinced on your own who the African American descendants, who we, the descendants of the African Americans, what tribe we come from. Okay. Just like everybody comes from a tribe. We all know that. But there was a selection that Yahuwah said himself that his covenant is with. And since Yeshua, the Messiah, did it at the cross, everybody is engrafted in. We know that. That is factual to those who believe. But that's one of the reasons I'm really praying that our leaders, our pastors, will start preaching the history of the Hebrews, the history of the Israelites, the history of, Jacob on down, the way it should be taught. Your identity crisis will vanish. Bingo. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
Okay.
Because all the evidence is pure, And that's why we grieve, because we don't have, you know, the Most High said, "My people perish because of lack of knowledge." That's the grievance. So we grieve the Holy Spirit by not understanding who we are and operating in the love that Yeshua taught. And so, coming from that aspect, when the identity and what's going on today, how the Black Lives Matter and everything, yes, the Black lives has always mattered. All lives have always mattered. And I stand with all lives matter, because we as a human beings need to wake up and show the love. But I stand with Black Lives Matters because we've been the ones that have been oppressed for so long, and we're tired of it as a people, and it shouldn't even be that way. And Rare, you said it. You traveled the world, Canada. I I got a I was on tour with a Canadian buddy of mine who was our sound engineer back at High Octane when I was playing bass. Man, Canada was beautiful. I understand where y'all coming from. There was everybody. It was human beings. You didn't have that type of situation going on. And with America, we have to look at the genealogies of everything. And then once you learn the genealogies of everybody and where they come from and how this whole big beautiful thing has come to pass the way it is today, that we're dealing with racial climates, that we're dealing with grievances, police brutality, riots, and anger concerning police brutality, because they've been taught that.
Mm-hmm.
We've been taught that. So, I guess we got some tough choices. We need to teach better.
Yeah.
We need our spiritual leaders to break the barrier of the identity crisis. We all know that once Yeshua took care of it at the cross, we all that are engrafted in and believe. That is the gospel. But what Yeshua did was taught love, appreciation. He taught how to serve. That's what he taught. He taught kingdom. That's kingdom.
Right.
And since we are the root of kingdom as a people, if you don't know the history, man, we were some awesome. The anger concerning the police brutality, and the rioting, and the Black Lives Matter, it's all a taught thing, I believe. And I believe until we teach better and the hatred stops.
Yeah.
And so, it's we have to do our part as individuals and just keep expressing that love, keep expressing that, just keep being that good person, being that righteousness that you have been crowned with as an individual. Everybody has it, they just haven't activated. I don't want to ramble.
No, you're fine. Let me stop you right there, because I feel like, as I did with my friend Mike yesterday, he had a really good message too. His message was, keep your message clear. We were talking about all kinds of things: Republican, the Democrat, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. And he said it's kind of like a marriage. It's kind of like a couple arguing, and they're talking about the argument that's taking place right now. And then the wife says, well, you didn't take out the trash, and it's like they're adding all this stuff. So his message was, keep your message clear. And for you, Hall, it's know your identity, know who you are, and all these other things. Yeah, they'll be important, but they won't get to the inside of you to cause you to react a certain way. And Rare, what would be your closing statement?
Kind of piggybacking off Hall as far as the identity being, I have a new identity. My identity is, I'm a spiritual being from heaven. So I'm an alien on this world anyway. I never fit in anyway. Yep. So my identity is a spirit. Either you're of my spirit or you're not. And so it doesn't matter the outer shell. The shell doesn't matter. However, pertaining to Black Lives Matter, I think I'm absolutely with that movement. because whatever you need to do to draw attention, to speak up for this people that is clearly being discriminated against, and a lot of divisive things to hold those people back. My dad being black, me, I'm experiencing the same thing. They do matter, and it's sad that you even have to bring it up that they matter. I think that's sad. In America, you gotta say, "Hey, these lives matter too." Hello,
Right.
you
Right.
know, you
Right.
shouldn't have to say that, but the fact that people are saying it,
Yeah,
the people that are
it's
standing
taught.
up against that,
Yeah.
right? The people that are standing up against that, when people are saying that, they're clearly stating their position. They're in
Yeah.
opposition of that, and they want to be comfortable in what has been. But change is inevitable.
Oh,
Hmm.
I agree.
It
Yeah.
is inevitable. It will
Oh
change.
yeah.
Things are going to change. It should change a long time ago. But since they're changing now, let's focus on how we're going to shape this new America.
Hmm.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You guys, on that note, I'm gonna have to wrap it up. It's like these are so good. Like we don't want to stop.
I'm like floored, man. This has been so much fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
I ramble a lot. I'm
Oh no,
really
you're fine.
passionate about things, and
Mhm.
I have so much to say, but I have always basically been in learning mode for the
Mhm.
last 15 to 20 years, just
Right.
learning, because what I was taught as an early Christian was all wrong.
Mhm.
It's all
Yeah.
wrong,
Yeah, man.
and
I'm gonna have
and
you back
Yeah.
that takes a lot to get out
to
of
deprogram.
your psyche, yeah,
Right.
to
Yeah.
reprogram, and
Yeah.
uh,
I'm gonna have you back. I'm
yeah,
gonna have you back
yeah,
because I feel like this is kind of maybe just like an introduction. And
Yeah.
maybe
uh-huh,
next time I'll just pick one topic that we can just, because
Yeah.
there's so much to
It's a lot.
say. Yeah. And
Yeah,
so,
it's a lot.
like, you guys, seriously, and thank you. Thank you so much. I feel like this is just the beginning. Like, I didn't know where this was going to take us. I still don't, but
yeah,
I know it's
yeah,
good. I know it's good.
Yeah.
uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
I can't thank you guys enough
Yeah.
for joining me today. I love you both so much. You guys
Yeah.
are like
We
brothers.
appreciate, we love you
And
too,
hey,
Sister Cat.
Yeah.
yeah, and I was
All
gonna
right,
say, hey,
blessings.
thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Also, because just allowing having a platform for somebody to voice their opinion,
Yeah,
speak on it
Absolutely.
is great because like Hall said, I got a lot to say. I still
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot that needs to be said. However,
Yeah.
I'm just glad that we could have this dialogue. It's great, and I'm
hmm,
for this all day. So anytime
Okay.
you
yeah,
want to be back, I'm definitely
Absolutely.
I'll definitely jump.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah. I think this is how it grows. We started like this. Next thing you know, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guests. Then you're gonna be on a platform
Yeah.
of your own. We'd be live in front of cameras,
There you go. There you
getting
go.
Oh, awesome.
paid,
That would
getting
be
paid,
amazing.
getting paid.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
So that's
Again,
the goal.
thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm gonna let you guys go. You guys have a great evening.
Yeah,
All
you
right,
too.
blessings.
Peace.
All right,
Blessings.
love,
I'll see you
y'all.
soon.
all right. Just make sure you see both of them. Peace.
Yeah.